Last time, on Fun Panthers, the party began to draw plans for their time in Harry Magi. Continuing from the previous session, Kezia explained her origins in the city, how she was raised by one of the gang leaders of the city, a man going by the Archeron, and her distrust of him since hearing Mystara's message on Faldaran. Furthermore, the party discussed how best to tackle the city, floating ideas of infiltrating the Weavesguard, but ultimately deciding that, for tonight at least, Ode and Kezia would attempt a break-in of their headquarters, with the magical assistance of Zeka and Ken. The girls took off, making their way through the city and the aid camp, finding hints that things were not as they seemed to be there. They found corpses in the camp, seemingly have been injected with strange serums, and listened to the staff of the camp, whose questions seemed more aimed at identifying mages and those responsible than in any way helping the victims. Eventually, though, the two were able to scale the palisade and infiltrate the building via an HVAC system as an entrance, and found themselves in the Grand Inquisitor's office as a result. Once there, they managed to identify and steal various items from his desk, including a strangely magical cube, some kind of weapon they didn't recognize, and a significant amount of correspondence between the Inquisitor and other members of the Weavesguard, as well as proof of an alliance between them and the Skinny Walkers. At this point, however, the duo heard the sounds of people approaching and stole what they could before fleeing back outside, but not before Ode managed to plant a letter implicating the Skinny Walkers as those responsible for the break-in. The two managed to evade capture without issue and returned to the Steins Gate, where they began to identify the magical cube and sort through the correspondence. The cube seemed to be psionic in nature, similar to the interfaces that the party had been interacting with before, and it seemed to be focused on mentally dampening those within the cube's proximity. It seemed to suppress their free will and make them extremely open to suggestion, as well as suppress high-level thinking and emotions. The party was understandably horrified, and after discussing what to do with it, decided to just lock it away in a lead box to prevent others from finding it, at least for the moment. After stowing the Pacification Cube away, the party began to firm up their plans to tackle the city. They settled on a divide-and-conquer strategy, focusing on pulling Weavesguard out from the reclaimed bastion on the day of the festival, and stoking a fight between them, the Skinny Walkers, and the town militia to provide as much of a distraction as possible. For this plan, Byron and Sunny volunteered to infiltrate the Weavesguard and the Skinny Walkers respectively to sow disinformation and help ensure that the two groups would fight. Meanwhile, Artuk would infiltrate the bastion once again to scout out its layout. Ode, meanwhile, would make contact with the militia leader, a major fleet, to see how best to approach his people, as the rest of the party would encounter the Archeron and see if they could arrange his assistance in any way. Finally, Zek had managed to make contact with Joro, who was under the Archeron's protection at the time, and alongside Byron and Artuk was able to make contact with him at a safe house guarded by a net. While there, Joro was able to offer some insights into his time with Ernalus. The two were apparently investigating ruins to the northeast in the Forsaken Wastes, and that was where they actually managed to locate the psionic cube and another paired device with it before they were ambushed by Weavesguard. Despite further questioning, it was very clear that Joro didn't fully understand these devices, and he'd handed off the second device to the Archeron in exchange for his safety. With this, the party resolved to keep the cube away from the Archeron at all costs, and made their way back to the Steins Gate alongside Annette. Once back at the tavern, Annette spoke with Kezia, and, with some encouragement from Byron, the two began to break the ice once more. Annette revealed that the Archeron had become obsessed with these psionic devices in the recent months, and the two girls decided to go and see him for themselves.